This is our wild game cooking contest without pledge breaks, running right straight through, followed by some recipes that we think are probably some of the most entertaining that we've had on Michigan Outdoors. So you sit back, relax, and before we go on, again, I want to say thank you for your support of Michigan Outdoors on public TV.
From the rugged shores and woodlands of the north, it's history of copper mines and iron ore, the Great Lakes fishery. To the farmlands of the southern counties we'll look around, my friend, at all that waits the sportsman in the state of Michigan. And sometimes when the moon brings out the diamonds in the snow, and the stillness of the forest lies encased in Arctic cold, the wind might whisper through the trees, listen if you can. It tells you of the beauty in the state of Michigan.
Hi there, come on in. It's time for our annual Fish and Wild Game Cook-Off. This is a 1-hour special that we do every spring here during the PBS Fundraising Festival. We have 5 categories of recipes: dips and appetizers, chowder soups and stews, fish, small game, and big game. These will be judged by a panel of chefs and celebrities. This is coming up in just a moment, so you stay tuned. I'm often asked, what is hunting and fishing all about anyway? You know, people talk about sport fishing and sport hunting. Well, sport is just a small aspect of hunting and fishing. It refers to the challenge or the accomplishment of bringing home fish and game. But hunting and fishing are much more than sports. In a broad sense, they're food-gathering activities. That's the only reason a sportsman pulls the trigger on game or kills a fish and puts it in the ice chest. He wants to bring it home to eat it. Now, we can always hunt for sport with a camera, but when we want to bring home food for the table, we take a gun, and that's what tonight is all about. Our cook-off once again took place at Coyle's Restaurant in Houghton Lake. John McKenzie, the head chef at Coyle's, is one of our 5 distinguished judges, along with Pat McGuire, proprietor of Papa Bear's in Luzerne. The undisputed dean of wild game cook-off judges is Bob Garner, famed for both his eating skills and his wit. You'll witness both in the next hour. Kathy Beitler makes her debut as a judge this year. She knows wild game cooking inside out. And also new to our panel is Charlie Keenan, director of the Outdoors Club SOS Bureau and a gourmet in his own right. Let's lead off this culinary adventure with dips and appetizers, where venison pizza dip squares off against walleye crab stuffed potatoes. The pizza dip is an adaptation of a popular party dip recipe, but uses venison sausage as the meat. Now, it's a hot dip, one that echoes the taste of pizza, and its originator, Jack Morrow from Frankenmuth, says its beauty is in its simplicity.
It's just an appetizer that you can use just about anything with, and we decided to adapt it to venison. And the venison just adds that little extra flavor.
What does it have in it?
A little Philly cream cheese. It has venison sausage on the top, sprinkled with some green onions. It has some pizza sauce over the top of the cream cheese with a little garlic powder in it and a little onion flavoring to it, and then mozzarella over the top. It's easy to prepare, and so it's easy to get ready for things.
This next recipe is a little more complicated, a little more elegant, but also very trendy. Walleye crab stuffed potatoes, an appetizer for those who enjoy seafood. There aren't very many chefs who come up with as many award-winning recipes as Lois Bone from Sebewing. She has a way with fish and likes to experiment with ingredients that might be out of the ordinary.
Well, it has walleye cheeks and crab meat and sour cream and a little mayonnaise, that's all.
Wow.
A little Chianti pepper.
How'd you come up with this one?
And by guess and by gosh.
So you've tried this out with different variations other than this?
Sometimes with like broccoli and cheese in it, you know, but
What if somebody doesn't have walleye cheeks?
you can substitute plain walleye or bay scallops. That's what the original recipe was with bay scallops.
Ah. It's going to be a tough battle here, I think, for these judges. You ready to let them go at it?
Sure.
Okay.
The venison pizza dip, you could really taste the sausage in there. It was good, but I'm going to go with the Walleye, crab, stuffed potatoes. You could have maybe 2 or 3 good friends over and watch some football and consume a big plate of those.
No kidding. Now, John McKenzie has quite a hole in his twice-baked potato here.
Yep, I enjoyed them both tremendously. The potato and the pizza are both semi-heavy. I mean, they have a lot of cream to them, sour cream, cream cheese. I enjoyed them both thoroughly. I personally had a hard time bringing the walleye out of the potato, the flavor. It's kind of hidden, so I picked the spicy pizza
Oh, no kidding.
and the venison pizza dip.
Pizza dip. Okay. We have a tie going into Bob Garner here, who has nothing, absolutely nothing to show.
I've been a member of the Clean Plate Club since 1953, okay? Well, I started out with a Clean Bottle Club at that point, or whatever. But anyway, I have to say, between the two recipes, I would have judged them just on the merits of taste. I would judge them totally equal. In the category of appetizers, though, I have to say that if the potato had been cut into smaller pieces, God forbid, but if it had been cut into smaller pieces and served that way as an appetizer, I think I might have even voted for that. But in this category, the baked potato was fantastic. I'm going to choose the venison pizza dip instead, and what I'm going to do is ask the viewers out there to try both of these during a football game sometime and use the potato as the main course, and this is the appetizer, and you'll have a winner.
Oh, well, okay. Lois, don't have a tear in your eye here. We're not done yet. Pat McGuire.
I think both these recipes could have been actually put into another category. You know, with baked potato could have been a fish category. I'm glad to see that someone's using the cheeks, which is probably the best part of the fish. I'm glad to see that. The pizza was wonderful. That could be in a category all by itself. So we know I'm the resident pizza man on this program. Right, Bob? You know?
bet, yeah.
But I'm going to have to go with, I just made my decision, with the pizza.
With the
because
pizza?
For the reason of the venison sausage was wonderful. And I'd like that recipe. You know, that was great. And
No
that's
kidding.
what did
The
it for me.
pizza man went with his roots. Here, Kathy Beitler, you don't have a tie to break.
No, I don't. I'm glad about that. I agree with Bob. I think that the potatoes could have been just a little bit smaller. And it was hard. It was really hard, but I'm going to go with the pizza dip.
You're going to go with the pizza
I
dip?
am. The venison in it, it was different than a pepperoni. That you can actually taste the venison come through in this. And that's what I'm going to
Kath,
do.
I've been to numerous restaurants with you. You always order the potato.
I know I do. And it'd make a great meal. I'd love this for a meal.
You almost made a meal out of
I
it.
did.
You almost did.
Bob taught me this.
Well, how about that? Lois, you're still coming back with another category.
Yeah, later.
But by golly, that was an absolute winner because I've tasted these. Jack, congratulations, venison pizza dip.
Thank you.
Made
Thank
it
you.
in the appetizer category. Lois. No losers in this contest. Every finalist is a winner because they had to compete against hundreds of recipes to get here. Moving on to our next category, chowders, soups, and stews, we have repeat winner William Wiswell from Grand Rapids pitting his pheasant Frito chili against Michigan summer chowder created by Melanie Morris from Mount Pleasant. Now, Bill has been a finalist in our cook-offs a number of times before. He also loves to be a Mr. Wizard in the kitchen, creating new blends of tastes and textures, which he's done here with a chili you'd expect to contain venison. But oh no, he has to try it with ground pheasant. Not a common way to serve pheasant, but William Wiswell never set out to make a common recipe.
I've used it with pheasant, used it with rabbit, I've done it with chicken, I've done it with ground meats. I like it when it's chopped like this and you get the chunks though. And again, it's not the real thin, runny stuff. It's crispy because you put like Frito-type chips underneath it and then Colby Jack cheese on the top. And I like serving it with a cornbread, and it just makes a nice meal.
From a hearty chili to a more delicate chowder, this summer chowder would be good year-round, and while you could make a meal out of it, it would also be excellent as an early course to a large meal, maybe to a charbroiled steak. Melanie Morris from Mount Pleasant talks about it with enthusiasm. It's one of her favorites.
It's a creamy corn chowder flavored with jalapeno peppers and cilantro and garlic and onion, and its feature is fresh native Michigan perch. And chowders are intrinsically fish-based, so why not perch. You can also substitute bluegill or crappie or any small panfish, and it makes a wonderful first course. It can serve about 6 people comfortably for a first course. Or my favorite is the main course with a substantial salad and some crunchy French bread, and it's a very tasty dish.
A seasoned winner versus a rookie in the recipe contest. Will it make a difference? Well, let's find out. Starting with the newcomer to our judging panel, Charlie Keenan.
I'm a chowder nut.
Are you?
I really like chowder. The pheasant was very good. You could taste the pheasant. It was a unique use of the pheasant. But this shouldn't be called Michigan summertime chowder. This is Michigan anytime chowder.
Anytime chowder?
And this is probably the best chowder. The cilantro makes the recipe. It's the best chowder I've ever tasted.
Whoa. Whoa, Mr. McKenzie.
I tell you, I couldn't agree with him more on both dishes. As you can see here, there's tremendous portion of the pheasant prepared portion of the rest of the meal. A lot of meat in both of these. A lot of meat in the summer chowder also. Tomatoes, peppers, cheese all went together very well in the pheasant dish. The summer chowder, you know me, I'm kind of a person who likes extremes. Occasionally I'll eat too much or stay up too late, but this chowder was ultra smooth. I mean, it was really smooth. I had to vote for the chowder also.
Oh, 2 for the chowder. Now, Mr. Garner.
Well, there's one thing about William Westfall's recipes is they are never lacking substance, and this one is one recipe that you could eat for a main course very easily, and it is very, very tasty. The chowder, however, I have to tell you, I have to agree with Charlie, it's the best chowder I've ever eaten. But what it does that is so different from other chowders is, number one, it is not rich, it's not overwhelmingly rich. Number two, which is great in its favor, you can eat a lot of this stuff. Number two, it is a very fresh tasting chowder. It is the freshest thing that you'll have at your table, other than maybe some fruits or some freshly cut up vegetables.
I have no clue as to what he's going to vote for now. Now
And
you've
for
totally
that-
confused us. Will you
And
pop
for
out your
that,
vote?
and for that reason, for the best chowder in the world and the freshest tasting chowder,
No
I'm
kidding?
going to vote for the Michigan Summer Chowder.
Oh.
Hands down,
You know
4
what you've done?
spoons.
You know what you've done? You 3 have put the guilts on these 2 here, because I want to see what this is. Is this going to be a...
Can you go over to Kathy next? No.
I'll get between you here. So go ahead.
We discussed this thoroughly.
You did?
Yes,
And what
we
did you come up with?
Well, I'll tell you, the Frito chili, I tell you, it really, really, really is wonderful, and it's good. It's not what I expected, though, when I read the recipe. It's a little bit different. I would like to see it a little bit more saucier. On the other hand, with the chowder, if you take a look at the chowder, look at the consistency of her sauce, and that won't break anyway with the whipping cream in it. I mean, that's nice. I've got to go with the summer chowder. I think you did an excellent job. And Bill's never let me down before, and you didn't let me down today. But I've got to go with the chowder.
What do you
I
think,
agree. I think the chili isn't real spicy, and the pheasant really comes through for a chili recipe. But the chowder does say summer. I mean, it's light, it's great, it's, I don't think you can beat it. I'm going to go with the chowder.
Holy cow. Somebody want to go up and tell Bill?
You don't want to?
I don't want to. No, I tell you. Well, Bill, what can I say? She did it with the cream. Maybe if you put that in a blender. You think?
Well, you know, I mean, maybe it's got to be for a younger set, people who still have teeth, but...
I knew. Okay. Bill, hey, high five there. Okay. Melanie, you did it.
Yes. I might warn you, though, it may be light in taste and texture, but is not light in calories.
Oh, do they care?
Do they care?
Do
No,
they
maybe
care? I mean,
Please.
Change my vote. Hey, Freddie, this is my one chance in life to look a little thinner than I actually am between these guys. Who's worried about calories? You worried about them?
outstanding. Well, how about a round of applause here for both of these contestants? That's absolutely great. Thank you, brother. Our next category is fish. Lois Bones walleye with clam stuffing versus Robert Perkins squeaking bass rolls. Now, both contestants are previous winners, and they know how to create elegant looking as well as elegant tasting dishes.
This time, Lois Bone went for a stuffed walleye that contains clams of all things. But she says this recipe is tasty and nutritious.
Now, do the clams in that stuffing really make it through the meat? To add a flavor,
I don't think they've disrupted the taste of the walleye, no. They're not in it that long for the baking. So
Okay, now-
you're tasting two different things. You're tasting clam and then you're tasting the fish. This is more lean cuisine if you're looking for a dietary type fish in that. There's basically no butters, no sauces, unless you want to add the butter yourself. So if you're watching calories and fat intake, this is the way to go because there's virtually no fat in it.
You have no interest here on this panel.
Yeah, well,
Here's a recipe that sounds like an appetizer, rolled in bacon with cheese, cooked on the grill. A lot of people have trouble coming up with recipes that make bass taste decent, but Bob Perkins from Owasso knows how to do it. One of his secrets is in the marinade. Now keep in mind, this cook-off was taped in September, so bass season was open the day of our cook-off.
Just soak in a little bit of wine or water, whichever. That way you take the oils out of the bass and also the bacon that's wrapped up in a...
The bass that you got for this recipe, where did it come from?
Oh, it came from my brother-in-law's property. He's got some property on a private lake, and I go out there and I can't miss on catching bass. I get my limit every time.
How big?
This morning I got 18, 16 and a half, and a 14.
And that's what
That's
these judges
that's
are
what
eating?
these judges are eating. And I caught those in 2 hours' time in pouring down rain.
Good man.
The judges look upon the fish recipes carefully. They're checking for fresh taste, good flavor, and a good-looking recipe that catches their eye.
First of all, the presentations of both of these recipes were fantastic. Seeing that walleye come to the table, that was great. The walleye has always been my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we've stumbled across probably the outdoor tip of the year here in Michigan Outdoors. If soaking the bass in the wine and water makes it taste like that, I've never been a bass eater. But this was fantastic, and the squeaking bass is getting my vote on this one.
No kidding. Mr. McKenzie, you had two gorgeous plates to look at.
They were both wonderful items. Walleye is a fabulous eating fish.
Oh, is this another butt? Do I hear it coming up?
No. And he is correct about bass. Everyone has a bad time with their bass. Normally it's kind of mealy. I wasn't even sure this was bass. It was so nice and flaky and white. It's got to be the best piece of bass I ever had. It was nice. And the walleye was...
Go right on, John.
Also
Go right on.
well baked. It presented very well, the whole fish. It was scaled without rupturing the skin. Had beautiful presentation. And I don't want to do a butt here. I think I want to try to pass on this one, not vote right now.
You can't. Kathy, can he pass?
No.
He can't
They
pass.
didn't
You
start
can't
this
pass.
end of the table. Okay, I
Go
will.
for it, John.
I'll pick the bass.
You pick the bass? Boy, that was
It was too hard. It was too hard.
too difficult.
I'm stressed. I need a rest.
Oh, he's stressed. Okay. Well, what kind of stress do we have down here, guys?
Lots of stress, because that bass was as well prepared as any I've ever eaten. You're right. Usually bass tastes more like a bale of straw than it does good fine fish, but this one certainly qualifies as good fine fish. However, this is a butt. However, Lois Boning has outdone herself with the recipe. This walleye is great tasting, and it is very simple. As she said, the walleye really
He's getting
stands
wound
alone.
up, isn't he? He's getting wound up.
It is fantastic, and it's as fun to watch being presented as it is watching come to the net. That is a great fish, and walleye with clam stuffing gets my vote hands down. Maybe the best fish recipe I've ever eaten. Seriously.
And that's only about the 100th time I've heard him say that.
But so far, it's the best one I've ever eaten.
Okay.
It's a rough decision for me. I'd like to say something on the presentation. These two plates that came out today, every year things seem to get more and more and more better looking, and it tastes better too. But the presentation, it would be a 10 on both of these. Mm-hmm. Then I have to look at what I have in front of me. That's what the judging is all about. Now, my bass was not cooked all the way. It wasn't cooked as much as it should have been, but the flavor, it was good. I think it was a little bland. Now, on the walleye, I think it was a little dry also. Boy, I got nothing good to say today.
You know what? You know what,
I'm gonna get
Pat?
mugged on the way home.
No,
He's getting full. That's the problem.
Full of what? Is what the question is. But I tell you what, I guess what I'm going to have to do, I'm going to have to go with the walleye. Stuff.
Okay, let's put the heat on the little lady right here.
I knew this was going to happen.
Okay, there you go. Look at them both in the eye.
Oh, I can't do that. Let me look at these dishes. The dishes were great. Presentation, like everybody has said, was just incredible. I did
Come on,
have
pop the
a
card,
real
pop the
hard
card.
time.
Don't.
You really want to see this,
I
don't
wanna see
you?
the
I'm
card.
not sure. Can I pass? Can
No,
I?
you can't.
I'm going to go with a walleye. The bass, if I had to fix bass, it'd be like that. But the walleye, I agree with Bob. It's the best walleye recipe we've had. That's what I'm going with.
You put me in a real jam, Kath.
I know I did. You told me I had to go. I went.
Oh, well, I told you, I made the comment before we came up here that if this bass recipe doesn't make it, I'm going to drop my shorts right in front of everybody here.
I know.
Because I said that was... I
You
can't
shouldn't have told
believe...
me that.
I can't believe... Bob, I lied. Congratulations for doing the best job with Bassett I've ever tasted, Lois. By golly. You did it, but it was tough. It was a squeaking fish category. No kidding there. Well, congratulations for these people who... The judging gets tougher and tougher each year because the dishes get better and better. Now, this makes for some real dilemmas with the judges.
Man, there are no losers here. No. We have not had a loser recipe in this recipe contest. One that, I might think, it's not all that good. Haven't had one in 4, 5, 6 years. In fact, I really can't remember one we did have. But this year and last year especially, the recipes are so far superior. And there are no losers. If the folks out of there ought to know to get a cookbook, because they will find more ways to enjoy wild game from the recipes these folks send in. If they get a cookbook and take some of the recipes they saw tonight, they're just going to really enjoy wild game. They'll want to hunt more. They'll want to get out more.
Back to our 1992 Fish and Wild Game Cook-Off at Coyle's Restaurant in Houghton Lake. We finished the first 3 categories: dips and appetizers, chowders, soups and stews, and fish entrees. 2 more categories to go, but let's take a minute to hear from our judges. After 10 years, the woman who does the weekly recipe preparation on the show, and whom you've seen at bow camp and reporting on the opening day of deer season, Kathy Beitler, moved from behind the scenes in this cook-off to the tie-breaking spot on the judging panel.
I got to be in the forefront of this, too. Got to pick the 42 that's going to go into the cookbook, and then sent those 42 to Pat and let him, or to John, and let him pick from there. But even that, just looking at those, this year was hard. No longer do we have just the hamburger and mushroom soup. I mean, they've come a long, long ways. And then to sit here and actually taste all these was very, very difficult. It's very, very good.
Kathy Beitler finally got to see what it was like to judge the dishes she initially picked out. Tough jobs that professional chefs John McKenzie and Pat McGuire have been wrestling with for years.
I think that Michigan Outdoors is doing a great job with Wild Game Cook-Off, because what it's doing, it's educating the public. The recipes we have, and Bob's right, I've been doing this now for 4 years, and for the last 4 years, they've gotten better and better and better every year. I think it helps by letting the public know, there's more to cooking than just, shooting an animal and throwing it in a bag and taking it home and unthawing it. You take pride in your kill, and you take pride in your table, and go all the way through. I think this is great. Oh, wonderful, just great. I'd hire any one of these people in here tonight. Cheap though.
No kidding. Well, Mr. McKenzie, you're a restaurateur.
Yes. I would hire them also, but of course I pay more than Pat does. I see these also progressing in a direction. It seems wild game used to be more basic and staple, and now people are experimenting with it more. I don't know if every year it's getting more exposure because of Michigan Outdoors, but just interest in general. People are doing different things with them. I hope people see things here and kind of keep experimenting further, because it's working, turn out wonderful.
John and Pat know excellence in cooking from their many years behind the stove. Bob Garner knows excellence from his many years behind the plate.
Okay, you guys have eaten 10 different dishes. Well, some of you are still eating.
Yeah, would you like some?
How do you feel?
Stuffed.
It was wonderful. I feel great.
Do you ever, Bob, do you ever get that stuffed feeling?
Well, you know, we used to talk about my old Uncle Elof, and I used to eat past any reasonableness at times, and we used to comment on how we never really got that full uncomfortable feeling that many people talk about. We'd eaten a lot and all that, but we always got that feeling and sensation of well-being, and not that stuff that requires Rolaids and Tums and all that. And no, I've never really had that full feeling before. Tonight I came close, though, I'll tell you.
Oh, Bob Garner had a close call. He's got more to eat, and so does Charlie Keenan. We'll hear from him a little later. But what exactly motivates these contestants to enter their favorite dishes? The bottom line is they enjoy wild game cooking, and they enjoy participating in this contest just for the fun of it. But all 10 contestants receive, of course, a copy of our 1992 Fish and Wild Game Classics cookbook, which features their recipes along with all of our TV recipes for the coming year. They'll each receive one of our Blaze Orange embroidered Outdoors Club hats, along with a year's membership in the Outdoors Club. And for helping in this PBS festival, each will receive a limited edition print of Resplendent Duet, signed and numbered by artist Dave Bowman. And they'll receive a copy of a video of tonight's cook-off, which also has some of the classic recipes of all times on this VHS tape. And as a special treat, all 10 contestants and their spouses receive a weekend at the Sands Resort in Houghton Lake, luxurious rooms with cable TV and all the conveniences, a game room with a fireplace, and a hot tub that's open year-round. The Sands has a beautiful beach on the west shore of Houghton Lake. The weekend won't have any shortage of meals either. John McKenzie will be serving up his great buffets at Coyle's Restaurant. Peeled shrimp, carved sirloin of beef, a huge salad bar, desserts, breads, soups, and a monstrous buffet of entrees. All these prizes for all 10 contestants. They're all winners tonight. Well, moving on to the small game category, we feature one bird dish for the judges, spicy orange glazed ruffed grouse by Chuck Frederick from Wyoming, and a creation by Eva Pecan from Posen, snowshoe jambalaya. Now, Cajun cooking has come into its own over the past few years, and this is a Cajun recipe with America's #1 game animal, the rabbit. Eva Pecan from Prudenville developed it for snowshoe hares, the common woodland rabbit of the north, but her freezer was bare of snowshoes at the time of this cook-off, so she substituted the more common cottontail rabbit.
I wanted something easy to cook and easy to serve and that tasted good.
Did you get this off of Justin Wilson's
No.
Cajun Chef Show? You did?
No, I made it up myself. Well, it's sort of based on a jambalaya, but...
Does it have onion in it?
Well, yes, it has onion and thyme and celery and garlic, of course, and some Tabasco sauce.
From a snowshoe hare recipe that substitutes cottontail to a ruffed grouse recipe that substitutes game hen. Another problem with holding the cook-off in early September, but the merits of this recipe can easily be seen. Chuck Frederick from Wyoming combines ingredients that you might think belong to a waterfowl recipe, and the results are delightful.
Pheasant's a little drier. I think grouse is a very sweet meat. It's very fine. It's really tasty. I think it's better than chicken or Cornish hen. It's great. I love
it. You feel, of all the substitutions you could make, the Cornish hen...
That was the one. It was the closest. Yeah. As far as the meat is concerned, I think grouse is probably a finer meat. It's not quite as coarse as Cornish game hen. Mm-hmm. In flavor, again, I think the grouse has got it hands down. If you got it, that's the thing to use.
The question is, Eva, you had to substitute cottontail. You didn't have to go so far afield as Chuck did here.
No.
With his Cornish game hen. But we'll see what kind of imagination our judges have.
Both of these are fantastic. You can taste all the flavor in the snowshoe recipe. The grouse, I kind of fancy myself a grouse expert.
You imagined yourself walking through the woods.
That's exactly right. But I'm going to make a choice.
Oh, you are?
I'm going to make a choice. But both of them are winners. Now,
Okay.
That sounds a little trite, but both of them are winners, but I'm going to go with the snowshoe
The
recipe.
snowshoe recipe for Mr. Grouse Hunter.
That's something.
Now, I would imagine that John McKenzie's a jambalaya man.
Well, I can see where he had all his difficulty there, because these are very good items. Matter of fact, the jambalaya, so many different flavors coming together, just bursting through. Lots of rabbit in it. It was good.
Bursting through.
Bursting.
Wow.
And
Okay.
as far as judging these, if I was going to prepare one, you could tell the jambalaya actually had quite an ease of preparedness. The flavors go well. Just about anyone could put them together. Now the partridge or the ruffled grouse
Rough.
is difficult. I mean,
Rough.
a nice glaze put on
Ruffed grouse.
there. We're going to call them.
Ruffled grouse?
It depends how you handle. You handle your grouse your
Where
way.
are you going?
I'll handle mine.
You'll ruffle yours up.
You rough yours up, I'll ruffle.
Where are you going with this here, John?
Well, I just want to say it's like a chef quality putting the glaze on the partridge. I'm going to go with the jambalaya.
The jambalaya. Oh, I'll be darned. I'll be darned. What about you, Mr. Garner? Did you imagine yourself with your beagle or with your English setter?
Or with
hunting
my
grouse?
English setter. I'll tell you what, it took me all over the great state of Michigan, but I like the recipe. The glaze was great on the rough grouse. There's no question about that, and it is an elegant recipe. But so many people really say automatically they dislike rabbit or squirrel or whatever, that I think if they ate it in this jambalaya recipe would be just tickled with it. So I imagine myself not necessarily on a grouse hunt, but I was in a cedar swamp hunting snowshoes somewhere between here and New Orleans. And I will have to go with the snowshoe jambalaya.
Okay. And we know Bob, of course, always pulls for the rabbit. Eva, you know that this would get Bob's vote. But let's see what we can come up here for Chuck.
Well, I know a guy named Jambalaya Joe from New Orleans, and I tell you what, her jambalaya is better than his. It is fantastic. But I would like it.
Okay.
Right, yeah, she had jambalaya, right? Are we in the same place?
Yeah, I don't know. I just...
And hers was wonderful. I would like it a little bit spicier, but, I got to go with, grouse is nothing but a foul thing, right? So I have to go with the grouse.
You have to go with the grouse.
Grouse,
Okay.
yeah, it was excellent.
With
No one mentioned his marinade. He had a marinade that he soaked it in, and that's what made it so tender. And that marinade can be used for many kinds of poultry. Very good.
Well, it still pulled a vote out. He didn't go with the group. What are you going to go with, Kath?
No, well, I think I'm going to have to go with Pat on this one. The glaze and everything, I thought it was going to be a little bit more bursting, like he said, but it isn't. It's just real smooth and goes just real well with this. That's what I have to go with.
Will you go with that, and I'll grab this leg?
You do that.
And, I grabbed her leg. It was just her leg. Well, I tell you what, Chuck, this is absolutely outstanding.
Thank you.
I'm sorry you couldn't have got grouse for it. Congratulations, and Eva,
Thank you.
you did it. Have you had some of this?
No.
Why don't you try some of that? That is
All
great.
right, I will.
Okay. How about a round of applause for us?
Our final category is big game, which basically means venison. We have dinner in a pumpkin, which uses venison burger, and apple juice venison that features venison chops. A good pair for the judges to consider. The venison chop recipe contains some Cajun spice, but the key is apple juice, which is cooked away several times until the end when the meat is steamed in the cider. Sharon Duca from Wayne came up with this concoction, and it's going to be a difficult one to beat.
I got tired of tasting the tallowy taste that you have with venison, so I thought, well, maybe the apple juice would kind of disguise it or whatever, and then the Cajun spice is one of my favorites. So.
Cajun spice and everything nice, a top-drawer venison chop recipe, but it could be upstaged by Barbara Conklin's creation, which she serves in a pumpkin. Barbara is from Fairborn, Ohio. She enters award-winning recipes each year, usually with pheasant. This is her first venture into the venison category, and it's totally unique.
Well, it's called Dinner in a Pumpkin, and it's a nice little autumn dinner that you prepare the filling ahead of time, and then you spoon it into a pumpkin shell and bake it in the oven. And if If you're very artistic, which I'm not, you can decorate the face of the pumpkin and, make it kind of comical or whatever you want to do. Just make it an amusing little dinner item.
Will the judges be amused or will they take it seriously? Let's find out.
The venison, it's nice to have venison any time of the year. And the apple juice venison was as tender as you're going to have venison. But the pumpkin, I can see that becoming a family tradition. Just before Christmas time or maybe after Thanksgiving, doing this and feeding the whole family with a pumpkin in the center of the table. So I'm going for dinner and a pumpkin.
Dinner and a pumpkin. All right. Well, Mr. Restaurateur, would you set something like that out on your buffet?
Oh, I sure would. It is beautiful. It's attention-getting. Both venison dishes were fabulous. The venison was very tender and tasty. The problem I always have is venison steak goes faster around my house. It's the burger you have a hard time using. When I saw the recipe, I thought possibly the pumpkin was kind of a ploy, get everybody's attention.
Just a gimmick.
Get it out, but it really added the pumpkin flavor, steamed in through the rice and the venison, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. I also voted for the pumpkin.
I'll be darned. That flavor evidently burst through.
Yes. And the apple juice. The apple juice is really dandy in this because it does serve as an excellent marinade. And it's, Michigan apples, who can beat them? But there's something about the pumpkin, the ambiance of just having that pumpkin around. And then
The ambiance of the pumpkin.
That was beautiful.
I think
Yeah.
we've come to a new poetic height there.
Well, Charlie said it best. It's going to become a family tradition, and I think it will in some households. But having the pumpkin around, and as John McKenzie pointed out while we're eating this, probably the best hint I've heard all day is try some of that pumpkin meat. Make sure you get that intermixed within the recipe itself. And I'll tell you what, when that happened, it added just the extra to that recipe to make it just first class. It is something else, and you've got to try dinner and a pumpkin. I actually try them both, but dinner and a pumpkin's my choice.
I'll be darned. I'll be darned. Well,
I got to agree with
there
Bob.
we got a majority here on this.
I know. I got to agree with Bob on the dinner and the pumpkin. It's beautiful and it looks great and it tastes good. It's real good. I like the idea of a tradition. That'd be a nice family tradition. I think kids would like this. The venison, I tell you what, last year that would have got my vote. Okay, it would have won because that was great. It was so tender, and it was your marinade, like Bob said. But I think I'm going to vote for the pumpkin, and
Is that right?
and I think I know why, and I think you guys will see why. If you take a good look at the face, who does that look like? It's what do you call that when you play a Beatles record backwards? Well, that's what she was doing. So I've got to go with the pumpkin.
No.
Well, so who does that look like?
Let me
Bob.
Let me see this.
Well, it's not bald.
Let
It ain't
me see
me.
this.
Well, ain't you either.
Yeah, no beard on it though.
Well, he's smiling after a full dinner.
The little beady eyes and the kind of fat setting there. Yeah, I'd agree.
You said it. I didn't.
Well, we'll leave you pumpkin heads. Go down here and see if... Kathy,
Yes.
did they do well?
They did.
You were the tiebreaker here. You've only had one tie to break.
Right. They did very, very good. And I agree. I think the dinner and pumpkin is really, really different. But I'm going to go with the venison apple juice because it is hard to get venison that tender without either chopping it or doing something to it first. And I think the apple juice actually tenderized it, like a vinegar would. That's my vote.
That's her vote, and she cooks on the show 52 weeks a year. So just let that be a lesson. But here we have it. Congratulations to you both. Sharon, that was phenomenal.
Thank you.
Phenomenally tender venison. Just like you said, Barbara, you did it. Congratulations to Barbara Conklin. Round of applause here, please, for this lady. Terrific. Well, that's super.
This cook-off for 1992 was a lot of fun, not just for the judges and the contestants, but for everyone who watched as we videotaped the event. We have a long waiting list of people who would love to be on the judging panel, and one of those for many years was our own SOS Bureau Director Charlie Keenan, who started with the Outdoors Club just 1 year ago. It was fun to find out Charlie's reaction to this coveted job.
I think probably the toughest category was me when it started getting into the small game category, and I got into that rabbit jambalaya. And I ate a little bit more rabbit jambalaya than I should have because the next two to judge were kind of tough.
So you do have the full factor.
You do. You do.
Have you guys ever gotten uncomfortable?
I topped out tonight, Fred. I got to say, I topped out tonight.
Well, for the final word, let's go to our Dean of Judges, the patriarch, Bob Garner, who feels sorry for less experienced judges who don't know how to get in shape for a cook-off of this magnitude.
I should have given these guys a couple of tips. Number one, training for one of these panels is the toughest thing in the world to do. You got a couple of, there are two schools of thought on training. One is you can starve yourself, which didn't appeal to me at all. And the other is you can eat a lot and keep those jaw muscles working and stuff like that so you can get ready. And I think if those guys had been in a little better shape coming into this, they might have been...
Well, that goes down in history as probably the best wild game cooking contest we've ever had. 1992 was a banner year for the quality of recipes and the presentations. I mean, they were gorgeous. We enjoy doing this every year, and I hope you enjoy these recipes. We've included a copy of the recipes in with the tape box, the video tape box, so that you can make these if you wish. I tell you, they are excellent. We have some recipes now coming up, a few recipes that, they're among the most humorous we've had on the show and among the tastiest, and they're very simple to make. So we'll start off right now with the one for pheasant tartlets. Oh, it's got to be one of my all-time favorites.
We have a super appetizer recipe from Barbara Conklin called Zesty Pheasant Tartlets.
This is not just super, Kathy. You understated the case already. Look at those tartlets.
They are very, very, very good.
The cheese in there, and it's made with pheasant.
Right. There's a lot of steps to this, but they're very good and very well worth it. Going to take bread and actually flatten it out just as flat as you can get it, but with a rolling pin, and then dip it in butter, and then this is going to be your shell.
Well, you cut out the bread with some...
With a cookie cutter.
A cookie cutter?
Right, yep. And then you're going to have paprika, red hot sauce, Worcestershire sauce, my favorite word, onions, Swiss cheese, Parmesan cheese, and some Miracle Whip. And then you're going to just mix this up, and then, of course, your pheasant will go into this.
But you're whipping that up while those shells are in the oven.
Right. Now, you could freeze those little tartlet shells once they come out of the oven if you want to make a bunch of them and make them ahead. And then you're just going to go ahead and make your filling, and then this will go into the shells.
This filling, by the way, people should take note of this. This filling can probably be done with all kinds of meat, not just pheasant.
Oh, absolutely. Chicken, turkey.
Man, I tell you, this is one of the most incredible combinations of ingredients that have ever been mixed together on this earth.
I think so. Then you're just going to go ahead and mix this thoroughly, and then, like I say, your cooked pheasant or chicken or whatever you want to use.
So Barbara Conklin from Ohio, she's had many award-winning recipes with us, and her husband is a pheasant hunter.
Right. And then you're going to go ahead and fill these shells, and then it just pops back into the oven for about 10 minutes. Sprinkle a little bit of paprika on top just for color. And then that'll actually melt everything, the cheese and everything. Makes them very good.
Very good, Kath, is an understatement. I tell you, most people, if they haven't had these, can wait that 7 to 10 minutes while they're cooking. But we've had these before. Bob Garner has, and I tell you, it's more of an athletic event to see how many you can grab the quickest.
Absolutely beautiful, Fred. Why don't you tell them everything that goes into this?
Well, you scarfing them all off of this plate.
That's right.
Crying out loud, I got to grab some here. We hardly have any. He's got them all.
And keep your mitts off them, too. I'll tell you, these little doodads right here are some powerfully good eating. They're small, and that's the only thing I have against them. I wish they were a lot bigger.
You know, seriously, I think they could be. You could put them on a whole English muffin or something, or I don't know what.
You can make them any size you wanted to.
Man, I'd make big ones too. But the juicy, cheese, stringy, oh man. And you know, I bet I could almost imagine tuna being in here.
Oh, just about anything. Chicken, turkey.
Oh.
Maybe even a rabbit, whatever.
What a versatile recipe.
Although we can imagine it. Don't change nothing. This is a fun. Hey, get your hands off of here.
I wouldn't have done that. We received an excellent recipe for walleye from Joanne Rodman from Westland called mustard fillets.
You know, a lot of people aren't going to really care for that. They're going to say mustard on walleye is going to ruin it. Look, you know that walleye hardly has any of the lateral line, that dark mud line.
Just a tiny bit of it there.
You really need to cut that off on salmon and a lot of the other fish. But oh, look at that, those clean.
That one is excellent. That's an excellent piece of fish there.
White fillets.
And you're going to put the fillets into a greased dish, casserole dish, and then make a sauce. out of, well, you can make like a thickening, just regular white sauce. With
I see an
just-
extremely simple recipe coming up
It
here.
is, and very tasty. Just your butter and a little bit of flour and then milk. And you want to keep that stirring constantly. And then you're going to make a sauce out of salt and pepper and mustard and just a little bit of horseradish. And that little bit just really gives it an extra zing.
You know, I've told this about this recipe to several people, and they don't have a good reaction to that mustard sauce
Right.
on fish.
Oh, but it does add
Especially-
something to it. You want to let this cook until it just gets a consistency of French toast. And then just pour that on the walleyes and then let it bake for a few minutes.
It's going to be interesting to see how that tastes. You know, Bob Garner sometimes goes for these baked recipes, but sometimes he doesn't. What do you think? Is he going to like it?
I think so.
This recipe, if you find somebody that doesn't like it, it's time to take them to a shrink. This is a delicious fish recipe, and that little bit of mustard and just a barest hint of horseradish. It is not a hot recipe, but a barest hint of horseradish just is very flavorful.
Makes it taste like a Dijon mustard, but just really adds to the walleye.
Keep talking, keep talking.
Hey, what are you doing?
I'm eating. No, this, you know, I thought when I first tasted this with a succulent white walleye, I thought it was whitefish.
Oh, no.
Just like whitefish. It's,
No.
It's just excellent.
Yep, the fillets were very good to start with.
Hey, best reason in the world to get out, get a few jigs, some crawlers, and go catch some
Why don't
walleye.
we cut all this chatter and just do
Good idea.
This is great.
Robert Perkins sent us a recipe for venison roll-ups, which is Fred's favorite way to fix any kind of venison. Going to take venison steaks, and now these are just sliced real thin. A lot of the roll-ups, you pound the meat down to size, but these are just going to slice it thin. And then add your seasoning salt and seasoning pepper, and that's the only seasonings that go on these steaks. And it looks like quite a bit of garlic, but these are going to be spread out over the steaks, and it's just garlic cloves. And then we're going to make a filling out of cheddar cheese, Swiss cheese, and onion. And you could use just about any kind of filling you wanted here. Some of them have called for a pickle. We've done some with onions. But this one is just real mild and doesn't take away from the venison at all. And you do want to make sure that the cheeses are all mixed up together because they're going to be spread out over the different pieces of steak. And then the trick to keeping the filling in is to keep it as much in the middle of the piece of steak as possible, and then roll it quite tight, making sure that you just poke the filling in as you go. And then you're going to secure each piece with toothpicks. And we're going to brown these in just a little bit of butter. And you do want to make sure that you brown each side of the steaks, not just the one. And it's hard to get around those toothpicks, but it can be done. And at this point, if you wanted to freeze them once they're brown, this would be a great time to do it rather than when you put all the sauce and everything on. And then we're going to simmer these in a little bit of wine vinegar and a little bit of red wine. And you just let these go ahead and finish cooking in the juices. And you can tell when they're done because they will lose their color. They will lose their bright red color. And then we're going to make a roux out of a little bit of cornstarch and flour and water. And it does go into the juices from the wine and wine vinegar. And it'll be quite thick when it's done. And I think this is going to be one of Bob Garner's favorite way of eating steak.
And just as a little insurance, I'm going to nab onto one of these leftover ones.
A leftover one?
I love caribou.
It's not leftover. The one that's on the plate. Freddie, you know I don't like to fly. I'm really considering it this year. I think I would even try and fly in myself to get one of the. This is incredible.
But it has a venison taste, but it's mild.
Yeah, very, very
It's
mild.
tender.
Oh, excellent.
The recipe does it justice too.
Yes, there's not a whole lot of ingredients to this that take away from the venison.
I love roll-ups. I really do. I don't know
I know
why
you
it
do.
is. There hasn't been a roll-up recipe I haven't liked. And this sauce, you know, I tried some of it cold just a few minutes ago before we started. Ugh. Oh, it was awful. But heat it up like this, it's
It does
terrific.
make a difference. Yeah, the flavors
Terrific.
come through in it.
Fred, when people ask you what caribou tastes like they ask me, I tell you, there's only one answer. It is maybe the best of the venison.
Oh, absolutely.
Phenomenal recipe.
Now that's an endorsement for a recipe. If Bob Garner will get on a plane, which he won't do normally, won't even discuss it, you know that caribou meat and those venison roll-ups have got to be top drawer. But we're always asked, does Bob like everything we eat on the show? Oh, are you kidding me? Every now and then we come across one that, believe it or not, turns his nose up at. Susan Morrow from Frankenmuth, you sent us a recipe that's going to go down in history as a classic. Fish Supreme is the name of it. And Kathy Beitler, what did you use in this recipe?
This is steelhead. You could use salmon or lake trout.
Boy, that is
but
light-colored
It
steelhead.
is, very. And you want to line a broiler pan with aluminum foil. You could use the grill on top of that instead of aluminum foil. And it's got some different ingredients. It's got Parmesan cheese, your lemon juice, yogurt, nutmeg, onions, and cooked spinach. It's cooked and chopped, and then it's got egg yolk mixed up in it.
Kind of a high cholesterol deal.
Yes,
but for
very.
people who don't have a problem.
Yeah.
And nutmeg.
Uh-huh.
Okay, this ingredient is going to come into play in just a moment, folks.
And about a quarter cup of yogurt and some lemon juice. And this is going to actually just make a filling.
Oh,
Oh.
I tasted this filling, Kath, before you put it on the fish, and I loved it.
Oh, this would be great on anything. I think it'd be good on rabbit, wild game, just about anything.
It would be a great dip.
Yes,
very
it'd have
frankly.
to cook a little bit first, but yes, it'd be very good. And just go ahead and put that on the fish, and then pop it back in the oven for a few minutes.
Now, this is called Fish Supreme. It should be called Fish Surprise because Bob Garner's reaction is the biggest surprise of all.
There's some spice, and I don't know what that spice is, but there's, oh man, there's just something I can't tolerate.
Every time we have it, too, you
What
have the
is
same
it?
reaction. Nutmeg.
Oh,
Is
it's
that
a
it?
nutmeg.
Yes.
You know
Oh
what?
man.
That
Yeah.
makes this terrific.
Mm-hmm.
Bob, set this one out. I think.
I think it's great.
No, don't. No, I'll eat that in a minute. But seriously,
I think it's great. But I like nutmeg. But
I like nutmeg.
Every time we have a recipe that has nutmeg in it,
Is
he's
that
like crazy
right?
over it.
Eggnog is fine to have nutmeg in, but nutmeg on fish in this amount, no thanks.
We had
This
a couple
has
months ago.
spinach with what, Parmesan cheese or
Parmesan
something?
cheese and yogurt.
onions? On yogurt? Oh, man.
Folks, this is one of those in 100 I just don't like.
Is
I'm
that
sure it's
right?
fine
Can you
for other
believe it?
people, but I just don't
Folks,
like it.
If you like nutmeg at all, you're going to love this recipe. If Bob could just get past that. This is
Oh,
terrific.
I think it's great.
I'm still chewing
finally-
on the first piece.
We finally get enough of this to eat, Kath. That's great.
Have at it.
We're going to have more nutmeg
We
recipes.
are.
Have at it.
Garner is always humorous, has something funny to say about these recipes, but the next one coming up is a classic. I didn't think we could use any of them on the air. I mean, you talk about turning your nose up at a subject. Well, this is a recipe that has to do with beans, and I tell you, Garner, I think, was playing it straight.
Marge Bledsoe sent us a recipe for Marge's meaty beans, which is an excellent recipe for this time of year, especially for deer camp. You can put it on in the morning, and then when you come back from hunting, it should be pretty much ready. It's got 3 different kinds of beans. It's got your kidney beans and your little butter beans, and then the brick oven beans, which are more like just a regular baked bean type recipe, or bean. And then you got venison burger, which you don't want to fry completely till it's completely done. You just want to get it just to that just about done stage because you don't want to overdo it. And then everything just goes all into one casserole. And then you got bacon. Now this bacon is from a wild boar that I got, and it does taste it does have its own flavor. It tastes different than your regular processed bacon. And this is smoked, but it still lends a very good flavor to this bean recipe. And you want to cook that until it is completely done. And then drain it very, very well because you don't want all the grease into the beans. And at this point, if you wanted to add sausage to this bean recipe, I think it would be just excellent. And then you're going to make a sauce out of the ketchup and mustard. And you could use a barbecue sauce here, but I think that this lends itself very well because you are going to add vinegar and then just a little bit of brown sugar for a little bit of sweetness. If you want it just a little bit sweeter, go ahead and feel free to do that. And then you just put a lid on it and let it cook down all day. And you really can't hurt this recipe by letting it cook all day long. It just gets better and better. It's an excellent, hearty recipe that will really taste good when you come in from hunting, and one that I think Bob will really enjoy.
Well, this is a good combination recipe. It's kind of like a chili because it's tangy and all that, but it's kind of like a good baked beans, you know, a good bunch of baked beans. Be excellent for deer camp. I suppose there might be some conflicts arise later on over eating a lot of this, but hey, I'd have it at deer camp.
Yeah, this could be definitely a away-from-home recipe.
Oh, yeah. I would suggest that.
These beans in here, some of these are huge, Kathy.
You're going to make sleeping in camp awful interesting. It's a good recipe.
So Garner, do you, what warnings or observations would you?
Well, I mean, if you look at this recipe, it's kind of like a combination between chili and good baked beans. It's a wonderful recipe. However, I will say that it does have the potential to be the most musical recipe that we've ever had.
Yes, it does.
It's a great recipe. Great for deer camp.
Yeah, what can you say about it? You just list the ingredients and show what's in it.
Hey, and you can hear about it later, right?
Echo.
It's a great recipe. It really is.
Oh Lord. Okay, Garnezy. I would guess that Garnezy is totally in love with this.
Well, it's like a chili, but yet almost like baked beans too. It's kind of a combination of the two of. So you could substitute.
Ribs.
Yeah, you could substitute this for chili at deer camp.
Oh yeah.
And you could still get all of the nice after effects.
I think that really there should be some warnings issued with this, and probably some rules laid down.
Camp rules.
Well, camp rules. I think home rules, like you don't have this within 24 hours of coming home.
Yeah, or
I mean, I'm sure it's
or within 50 feet of an open flame. It's a good recipe, try it.
Oh no! Oh, will that make it on TV or not? I don't know. That's one of your toss-ups. Oh, jeez. I tell you, that was one of the funniest recipe sessions that we've ever had. Bob Garner wasn't really feeling that well that day, and I think he was trying to play it straight and get it over with, but it sure struck us funny. I hope you enjoyed this tape. We have a lot of fun putting together Michigan Outdoors every week, and we have a lot of fun putting together tapes like this for people like you who support the show. So thank you very much, and I hope you keep watching, and we'll keep delivering the programs every Thursday night.